Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Kentucky Downs here on opening day. It is Thursday, the 31st of August, 2023. I'm going to look at all the races here on opening day from Kentucky Downs, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it around the world. We have 10 races to look at. They're very wide open, full fields. Let's get to it right now. The first race, it's main special weight purse, $150,000, just a small $150,000 purse. Race for the maidens, fillies, two-year-olds here. Field of, let's see, 16 horses entered, 13 through 16 are AE, so 12 will go 1,300 meters or 6.5 furlongs on the turf course. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the 5-horse Budchin. I'm going to go 5-4-7-1 in the superfecta. 5-4-7-1 super. Top selection, the 5-horse Budchin. This 2-year-old filly by Gunrunner here. Wesley Ward trains. Tyler Gaffleone gets the mount. Blinkers off today. They took this horse to the UK most recently on the 21st of January. 21st of June, excuse me. If it was 21st of January, I've been over the jumps at Ascot for the Clarence House Day. But 21st of June at Ascot in the Group 2 Queen Mary with the 5 furlongs. He finished 22nd by 16 lengths that day, and he lost all chances going out of the gate because he didn't break so clearly. He didn't show speed, and he just couldn't quicken up. Coming here, still as a maiden, to turf where they, I think is going to be his better surf because he's running dirt also, with a good poster, could be forwardly paced on this turf course, which isn't half bad. I think he can run a good race and win here today. Jockey and trainer combination here at in a small offering here at Kentucky Downs, 25%. So Gaffney and Wesley Ward, when they run here, they really do well. When they meet up, they don't meet up a lot, but when they do meet up together, 34%. So that's quite an interesting stat. But on debut, the horse ran 28th of April, Keelan, 4.5 furlongs off the turf in the maiden special weight, and he finished second by a nose. From the rail, he went out to get the lead, and he got caught at the wire by Tito and Kent's. What can you do? He ran his heart out. He's training well at Saratoga. They must have tried. I didn't look at the scratch board, but they probably tried to get him one of those turf races that got rained off. Refreshing here today. He could definitely win. You have to also use the 4-horse Lucindia for Brendan Walsh and John Velasquez. This two for the Ben Mendelsohn. First time starter here, but the workout patterns over Turfway haven't been half bad and has been getting better. Watch out for this one here today. His first time starters are getting a little overbet and they don't run as much. Win on first outing, but I'll give this horse a shot. He has better numbers with two-year-olds than first outings. But to recount my selections for the first race from Kentucky Downs, I'm gonna take the 5-horse Budchin. Give kudos to the 4-horse 5-4-7-1 super. Let's go 5-4 in your multi-race. The the second event from Kentucky Downs. Sorry, haven't finished my coffee yet. I'm not highly caffeinated yet. But the second event from Kentucky Downs, it's an allowance race purse, $250,000. God, I can't speak today. It's horrible. It's for $250,000 purse race for Phileas two-year-olds, which were sold at the RNA at the Keelan 2022 September sale. So it's one of those sale races. Field of 14 horses entered, 13-14 AEs. 12 will go 1,300 meters again, or 6.5 on the turf course. Something I noticed with Kentucky Downs the last 5 years or so, they only run the 6 furlong turf sprint here for that Kentucky Cup turf sprint that they run next weekend. Other than that, all the other turf sprints are 6 furlongs, which it's okay, but they just run 6 furlongs because the turn come up so quick. I have to go look at watch some replays again. But my top selection, I'm gonna go with the 2-horse Dozen Diamonds. 2831 for me in the superfecta. 2831 super. Top selection 2-horse Dozen Diamonds. 2-year-old filly by Mendelsohn here. Mark Cassie trans. Adam Beschitza gets mounts. Horse's most recent outing came 21st of July at Colonial. Mile on the inner turf course and made in 25,000. Stepping down in class from his previous race. That was a good confidence builder. He was sent off as the 80 cents a dollar favorite, and nobody was catching him. He won by 9 lengths. He stalked. He got the lead at the top of the lane, and he took off clear. 52 power, that was a very good race. Coming back here around to a sprinting trip, doesn't need the lead, should get a good trip from the inside, and I think he could stalk to get a good trip to win. 2 back, he ran on debut on the 11th of June at Belmont. 5 furlongs wider turf course, main special weight 90,000. He finished 8th by 7 3/4 lengths that day. He didn't get out of the gate so clearly from the rail, and he was just behind the 8 ball. I thought that race was, the horses were coming out of that race were quite better horses on the day, and he needed a lot of learning experience, but he's training quite well at Churchill since the last run. Coming here to turf again, I'll give him a shot. I think the 8-horse horse hidden class for Joe Sharp and Joe Rosario could get a good trip and win. Most recently at Saratoga on the Melon, going 5.5 in a state bred, in a restricted main special weight. He finished second by 2.5 lengths that day, and he didn't get out of the gate so clearly, but he settled well toward the back of the pack while they were flying up front. He really gained ground late, just a little bit too late, but he ran his heart out. Since the last race, he's training well at Churchill. Come back to turf, he can win. Let's use him in the multis. There is a pick 4 that begins with this race, so let's use him there, or pick 3. I like playing pick 3s a lot lately. In the last year and a half, it's pick 3s for me is what I like doing, especially at Aqueduct, which is opening next week, and I can't wait for that. Trust me, I can't wait for that. Saratoga just been a little bit of I like Saratoga, but this year at Saratoga, we're just going to keep it in 2023, and we're just never going to talk about it again. But to recap my selection for the second from Kentucky Downs, going to take the 2-horse Dozen Diamonds. Give kudos to the 8-horse Hidden Class, 2-8-3-1 Super, 2-8 in your multi-race. The third race from Kentucky Downs, it's an allowance optional claimer purse, $170,000. Races for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards, never won 2 races here. We have a field of 9 horses going to the turf course again. The distance of ground is 2,100 meters or a mile 5/16 on the turf course. So it's basically just about a lap around the turf course. They card a lot of these long distance races here at Kentucky Downs, which I like. There's not enough of them for me in this country. Races over like 9.5 furlongs and up, my top selection, I'm going to go with the 4-horse Federalist Papers, 4-8-1-3 for me in the superfecta. 4-8-1-3 Super. Top selection, 4-horse Federalist Papers, 5-year-old mare by More Than Ready. Grand Motion trains. Vincent Chiminade gets the mounts. The horse's most recent out gave him 6th of August, Saratoga. Mile 3, it's in a turf course off 6-2 claimer. And he finished second by 3.5 lengths that day. And he just kind of stalked all the way around the race course. He was a little bit wide late, but he ran his heart out. I didn't think it was a half bad race first start in the new barn. Coming back here to Kentucky Downs, where this horse ran quite well last season in defeat, I'm going to give him another shot. 2 back ran the day after Belmont on the 11th of June at Belmont Park. Mile 3/8 on the inner and off 6-2 claimer. He finished third by a length that day, and he sat back from a very, very pedestrian pace, but he was really closing up well late. He just missed, but he really ran his heart out that day. It said he impeded foe on the inside at the 8th hole. It's hybrid. What can you do? Then prior to that, it was also his first start since the fall. That came at Keelan, 7th of October, a mile and a half, an allowance race, 90,000. He finished 4th by 2 lengths that day. Again, not a lot of speed out of the gate sometimes. Sat back early, stupidly wide, but he was gaining like an express train. And then his most recent race here, nearly a year to the day, mile 5/16 off 6-2. He finished second by a head. He stalked. He had the lead, and then he got caught late. Just maybe not 100% fresh. First start since June. But again, he ran his heart out. Come back here. I'm going to give him a massive shot on the ticket. I think the 8-horse here, Shad Nation, for Julian Leperoux and Christophe Command could get a piece of it. Hasn't been seen since that similar race on the 11th of June at Belmont. Mile 3/8 and optional 6-2, where he finished 6 by 5 3/4 lengths that day. He walked on the front and he just couldn't keep up late. Also, he got checked out of it. I remember that day. I was at Belmont that day. If I'm not mistaken, Dylan Davis what do you call that on the I Ride horse? You put a objection on, and they looked at it for like 20 minutes, it seems, and then they didn't do anything. This horse is weakening out of it, so I thought what I Ride did was wrong, but still, I don't think it called for a DQ on this horse. But what can you do? He just couldn't keep up there. He ran terrifically though, Keelan, prior to that, a mile and a half, and allowance race 111,000. He finished second by 1 3/4 lengths that day. Again, he walked on the front end. He got caught in the front end by Miss Yearwood, who was a next start winner. What can you do? Again, he ran his heart out, maybe just not 100% fresh. And then last season here at Kentucky Downs, mile 5/16 in allowance race. He won by a neck, closing up from nowhere, a stupidly wide trip, but he got the job done, a very good run. He's proven that he can win over the longer trips. He's proven he could travel out of New York and run these decent races. And probably with him today, they're going to go to the front end and try to steal it on the front end. At the 6-1, let's use him on the pick 3 or pick 4 ticket, wherever you decide to play. Pick 3, why not? But to recap my selection for the third from Kentucky Downs, going to take the 4-horse Federalist Papers. God, I can't speak. I'm going to use the 8-horse Shad Nation, 4-8-1-3 Super, 4-8 in your multi-race. I'm going to do a pause after the 5th. Fourth race from Kentucky Downs, allowance optional claimer purse $180,000. Race for fillies mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. Never won 12,500,000 other than main claim starter. Blah 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 blah. We all know that. We have a field of 11 horses going 1,300 meters or 6.5 furlongs on the Kentucky Downs turf course. The distance of the day, it seems. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 7 horse Linguistic. Let's go 7491 in the superfecta. 7491 super top selection 7 horse Linguistic. 4-year-old filly by Flatter. Eric Foster trains. Tyler Gaffleone gets the mount. And Gaffleone getting back on this horse, I think, is a plus because when he gets on this horse, the bars go substantially, and he always finds a good way to win. But most recently, I thought he was facing too tough competition in the Kentucky Downs preview lady sprint at Ellis, 5.5 on the 5th of August. He finished 4th by 8 3/4 lengths that day, and he just stalked and had it nothing. Flat as a pancake. He just couldn't keep up with those horses. Slightly down in class against horses he could win against, where the bars are more consistent. I'm going to expect him to really run a good race here today. 2 back in optional 80 at Ellis, 5.5 on the 22nd of June. He won by a neck that day, and he sat back early, and he had a little bit of trouble trip. It was a little bit wide, a little bit in between that day, but he got there in a nick of time. A very good race. He saw a horrible trip before that in late May at Churchill, 5.5 an optional 80 claimer. He finished second by 3/4 length, sat back early, had to go in between horses a little bit wide. He just missed late, but he ran his heart out behind Coffee Maker. He was a decent horse that day. First start for the new connections, and the previous care of Timothy Ham was his previous race at allowance race at Keelan over the 5.5, where he finished third by a half a length that day, and again, he was really closing up well late. He just missed, but he ran his heart out. Last season he was running at Prescott, and he was running some decent races there, especially towards the end of the season. Coming here today, he could definitely win. I'm going to use him. I think the 4-horse here, Static Fire for Brian Lynch and Christian Torres could win. Hasn't been seen since the Abenita Stakes at Gulfstream. That came on Christmas Eve over the 5 furlongs, where he finished 8th by 4.5 lengths that day, and he just was never showing up that day. The Gulfstream Park turf, of course, going 5, is very, very speed favoring. Not saying that closers can't win, but they have a serious disadvantage of it, and he just never was really comfortable, never showed up. It wasn't his day to win. They tried him in dirt before that, Keelan going 6 and optional 125 claimer, where he won by 1 3/4 lengths that day. He was a little bit wide, but he got there going away. A very good strong run from this horse there. And then last year's Music City Stakes over this turf course over the 6.5, he finished 4th by 2 3/4 lengths. With a better trip, he probably would have won that day, but he just stalked. Had to be used a lot to get good position, and then he just couldn't keep up late. Hasn't won on turf since the debut that came at Saratoga nearly 2 years ago to the day, going 5.5 on the Mellon main special weight, winning by 3.5 lengths on the front end. He really took off clear. Since then, he's been winning on dirt, but and when he runs on turf, he doesn't run half bad. Off the bench, Brian Lynch has decent numbers, 31%, and the horses that are winning aren't short-priced horses. So, let's give this horse a shot on the ticket. In that pick 3, we'll use him there. But to recap my selection for the 4th from Kentucky Downs, going to take the 7-horse Linguistic, give kudos to the 4-horse Static Fire, 7491 Super. Let's go 7-4 in your multi-race. Let's get to the 5th race from Saratoga now, which is from Kentucky Downs, because I have Saratoga right there, that's why. And but to the 5th race from Kentucky Downs, it's a main special weight purse, $150,000 race for maidens, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 16 entered, 12 go. 1,600 meters this time, or a mile on the turf course. Gonna take the 7-horse Noises off as a top selection. 7-11-2-4 for me in the superfecta. 7-11-2-4 super top selection. 7-horse Noises off. This 3-year-old Gelma Candy Ride. Paul Lobo trains. Christian Torres gets the mount. They tried the horse over the mile in the 8th at Ellis most recently, and a main special weight 70,000. And the horse finished second by a half a length that day. He stalked. He had the lead for a bunch, and then I think that extra furlong got to him. He just couldn't keep up late. What can you do? I do think the cut back to a mile should suit him well. Coming here to this course, I think he's in a good spot to win. Paul Loba doesn't have as bad numbers on this course, and he has great numbers, but on this course he likes sending his horses. 2 back, he ran main special at Ellis, mile 16, 22nd of June, and he finished 4th by 2 1/4 lengths that day. He had a little bit of traffic trip that day. He was closing up well late, but it was just a little bit too late. I didn't think it was a half bad race, first time turf. And then prior to that, Churchill stop off turf, 1 mile in a main special weight. He finished second by 3 1/4 lengths that day. He was just a little bit wide, but he was gaining that day. Not the world's worst race for him. And then a turf way over the winter, a mile in the main special weight. He finished second by a head that day. Again, he just missed late, but he really had a game performance. Still a maiden here. His bars have definitely been getting better. 9 to 5. I think he could finally find his winning ticket here today to the winner's circle. I think the 11 horse Fireball Fun for Al Stahl and Joel Rosario has a logical chance of winning. Hasn't been seen in 31 days. 1st of August was his previous race at Ellis, mile and the eighth and main special weight for 70K. He finished fourth by 8 1/4 lengths that day. From wide postra, he left to get good position out of the gate. He couldn't keep up late. It was his first start of it, so maybe he needed the race. Gonna have to get good position here today, but I think back to a mile should really suit him well. Getting Rosario up also should suit him well. Two back at Churchill, mile and eighth and main special weight. He finished ninth by 5 3/4 lengths that day. He just kind of stalked all the way around the race course. He needs something more late, maybe a little bit too tough competition, but he ran his heart out there. And then throughout that race 2 weeks prior on the dirt and debut at Churchill, a mile off the turf on the slab, he just didn't show up. Put an X through it, but he's training well at Churchill, refreshing here at 8 to 1. He could definitely win. Let's use him on the ticket. But to recap my selection for the 5th from Kentucky Downs, gonna take the 7 horse here Noises off. Give kudos to the 11 horse Fireball Fun, 7-11 2-4 Super, 7-11 in your multi race. Let's get to the 6th event now from Kentucky Downs, which is an allowance race. Purse $250,000, race for 2-year-olds which have sold or were RNA at the 2022 Keeneland September yearling sale. We have a field 11 horses going 1,300 meters or 6.5 furlongs on the turf course. I'm going to take the 11 horse here, Aspenite, as a top selection. I'm going to go 11-6-7-4 in the superfecta. 11-6-7-4 super, top selection, 11 horse Aspenite. This trio colt by Constitution. Tyler Gaffleone, Steve Assenson trains. Tyler Gaffleone gets him out. Still need more coffee here. This horse has only started once. He tried getting on the turf of Saratoga, but it seems it's so hard. The hottest ticket in town right now in Saratoga is getting into a turf race, it seems. But that game, he was off the turf, 5th of August, Saratoga, a mile off turf on the Wilson mile on the main special weight. He finished 4th by 2 3/4 lengths that day, and he just kind of, he sat on the front in most of the race. He got overtaken late, maybe just on debut, couldn't stay the mile. Maybe couldn't stay the mile on dirt. Also, he has some dirt pedigree, but coming back to the green stuff where it looks like he's been training for, I think he could really get a better trip to win on this turf course. Also, some distance relief should suit him well. He's been training well at Saratoga, most recently in the Oklahoma training turf. 4 furlongs and 52-2 with the dogs up. 41st best workout 42, and then I had a 5/8 mile drill 103-1. 12th best workout 15. Coming here to turf, I'm gonna give him a shot. I think the 6 horse here, Iridescent, could win also for Brad Cox and Florent Roux. Started on the dirt most recently at Ellis, 6 furlongs in the main special weight, where he won by length that day. Stupidly wide trip, breaking 12 of 12. He broke not so good, but he got good position stalking that day. When he quickened up, he went away with it. That was a very good run. Now, makes me wonder, what can he do with a better break? Come to the green stuff here today. Could be forwardly paced. I'm going to give this horse a shot on the ticket here at 6 to 1. And he's a horse I want to keep an eye on because it looks like he could really, off of that disaster first run, even with victory, I want to see what he does during his career. But to recap my selection for the 6th from Kentucky Downs, going to take the 11 horse Aspenite. Give kudos to the 6 horse Iridescent. 11-6-7-4 Super. 11-6 in your multi race. Let's get to the late pick 4, the 7th race from Kentucky Downs. The 7th event from Kentucky Downs, it's an allowance race, purse $180,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards, and won a grade sweepstakes on the turf in 2023. So I think this is the overflow from that stakes race later in the card. We have a field of 9 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile on the turf course. Going to take the 4 horse Street Ready as a top selection. 4-6-7-2 for me in the superfecta. 4-6-7-2 super, top selection of 4 horse Street Ready. 6-year-old gelding by More Than Ready. Ian Wilkes trains. Chris Landeros gets them out. Hasn't been seen since New Year's Eve. That came in the Fort Lauderdale at Gulfstream Park. A mile and 1/8 on New Year's Eve. He finished 3rd by 1 3/4 lengths that day, and he stalked all the way around the race course. City Man had the dream trip that day. This horse had to steady a few times, a little bit wide. He was gaining that day, but he didn't have his dream of his trip as City Man had. But he did run his heart out. He ran a very nice 96 buyer. Refreshing here to Kentucky Downs for the first time. I'm going to give him a shot to win here off the bench. Prior to that, he ran a Keeneland in the fall, mile 16th allowance race, 119,000. He won by 1/4 lengths that day. He had a wide posture, and the best thing for this horse to win was going from the outside posture and leaving and see how far the speed could hold up. And he did that, and he won. He won by 1 3/4 lengths with a 96 buyer. That was a very good, impressive victory for him there. And then at Saratoga on the 1st September last year, a mile and 1/8 the inner turf course, optional 80. He finished 2nd by 2 3/4 lengths. He stalked got overtaken late that day, but he ran his heart out that day. And then at Saratoga in late July, mile 3/16 in the melon and optional 80, he finished second by head. Again, wide post draw. Best thing for him was leaving and going to the front and see how far the speed could take him. He got caught at the wire by Soldier Rising, who was a decent horse, but he ran his heart out. Towards the end of the season, his form was really getting better, refreshing here. He could definitely win. I think the 6-horse Wolfie's Dagonost could win also for Jonathan Thomas and Florent Drew. This horse absolutely likes synthetic. He won the big synthetic stakes that they had at Goldstream on Pegasus Day over the mile 70, winning by 1/4 lengths. Came back to win the Kentucky Cup Classic on the synthetic with a 1-on-1 career best buyer at Turfway. Then they ran him against tough competition in the Miker's Mark Turf Classic, or whatever they call it, the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic at Churchill on Derby Day, where he finished 6 by 6 lengths, never showing up. I believe he was my selection that day, if I'm not mistaken, also. And then came back to running the Eclipse at Woodbine, where he just never was really going. I thought it was, Jonathan Thomas horses, they need time between races. He's not a trainer that runs his horses a lot, I've noticed. So this horse off of a bit of a refreshing back to turf, where he's definitely run these good races and won on. I'm going to give him a shot here on the ticket. He's trading quite well at Turfway at 5, and 5-2. I know it's a shit price, but he could definitely win here. But to recount my selection for the 7 from Kentucky, gonna take the 4-horse Street Ready. Gonna give kudos to the 6-horse Wolfie's Dagonost. 4-6-7-2 Super, 4-6 in your multi-race. The 8th race from Kentucky. It's an allowance race purse, $160,000. Race fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. Number 1, a race in the main claim starter, which number 1, 2 races here. We have a field of 16 horses entered. 13 through 16 are AEs. 12 will head 1,300 meters or 6.5 furlongs on the turf course. I'm going to take the 2-horse Tozer as a top selection. I'm going to go 2-10-9-3 in the superfecta. 2-10-9-3 super. Top selection 2-horse Tozer. 4-year-old filly by Into the Mischief. Safi Joseph Jr. Trans. Edgar Zayas gets the mount. Horse hasn't been seen since late June. That came at Gulfstream. Mile 70 on the Tapita, an optional 25 claimer, where he finished second by 2 lengths that day. He just kind of stalked all the way around the race course. He was drifting a little bit late, which probably cost him. Refreshing a turf where he likes running. I'm going to give him a shot to win here on the ticket. 2 back, he ran at Gulfstream again, a mile 70 off the turf on the Tapita, an optional 25, where he finished second by 1/4 lengths. Didn't get out of the gate so clearly. A little bit wide. He had the lead. He couldn't keep the momentum late. It wasn't his day to win. I do think cutting back to 6.5 will really suit this horse up a lot better, and I think that's what he's been crying out for. Prior to that, in late April, Goldstream 1 mile and option 25, where he finished second by a length. And again, he had the lead. He got caught late, but again, he ran his heart out that day. And then he ran in mile 16th at Goldstream and option 25 off the bench, finished third by 4 lengths, and he just never really showed up. Also, he's stupidly wide on that very narrow turf course. Cutting back and drip, trading well Palmettos. He's a very likely winner in my eyes. You think your second likeliest winner is the 10-horse Ivory Moon for Joel Rosario and Brian Lynch. Has only started once. That came at Goldstream over the 5 furlongs in the lawn in the main specialway, where he won by 2 3/4 lengths, and basically he won it out of the gate on the front and all throughout. 68 bar, for a first time outing, wasn't a bad race at all. Training quite well at Churchill since the last run. I'll give him a shot here on the ticket. But to recount my selection for the 2nd from Kentucky Down, or excuse me, the 8th from Kentucky Down, is going to take the 2-horse Tozer. Give kudos to the 10-horse Ivory Moon. 2-10-9-3 Super. 2-10 in your multi-race. The 9th event from Kentucky Downs, it is the Tapit Stakes. It's going for a purse of $500,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Number 1 is sweepstakes in 2023. We have a field of, how many pages? Field 16 horses going post, 12 could go. The distance of ground of 1.70 miles on the turf course, and it's a $500,000 purse. But if you're not Kentucky bred, the purse it decreases to $250,000. Still not bad for a regular listed stakes. But let's see how many of these horses aren't Kentucky breds. Let's see. Well, there's 1 non-Kentucky bred, 2 non-Kentucky breds in the main body of the group. Let's see. That looks like that's about it here. But it pays to be a Kentucky bred, I guess. Or I think they used to say that for New York breds also. But my top selection here, I'm going to take the 4-horse Speaking Scout, a Kentucky bred. I'm going to go 4-1-11-7 in the superfecta. 4-1-11-7 super. Top selection, the 4-horse Speaking Scout. This 4-year-old gelding by Mr. Speaker, Grand Motion Trains, Jared Loveberry gets the mount. Horse's most recent outing came the 5th of August, Saratoga, yielding in her turf course, mile 16th in the lure. He finished 4th by 2 1/4 lengths that day, and he didn't get out of the gate so clearly, which cost him. He hit the gate going out of it, and it looked like he was a little bit dazed early on for that first furlong. He moved a little bit late, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Hopefully getting out of the gate a little bit better. he should definitely get a better trip to win. Two back, he ran the Monmouth Stakes at Monmouth over the mile in the 8th, 17th of June. He finished third by 1.5 lengths that day. He was a little bit wide. He was gaining that day. Maybe he wanted a mile and a quarter, but he didn't run half bad in my eyes. And then the dinner party at Pimlico over the mile in the 8th, he finished fourth by 3/4 of length. It was an all-out finish. A little bit of trouble trip that day. If he had a better trip, he probably would have won, but he ran his heart out there. And then they were facing two tough competition, the Maker's Mark at Keeneland over the mile. He finished fifth by 10 lengths that day, and he just wasn't closing into that, to those horses on the front. And Chesby really rode a terrific race to win. Modern Games was the next star winner in the Lockage in the Group 1 Lockage in Newbury, and Up to the Mark was the next star winner also. So he got beat by proper grade 1 quality horses that day, but it was a great run by Chesbier there. And then prior to that, the Pegasus, he finished third by 2 3/4 lengths on the turf. Tone really ran terrifically. Ivar closed up from nowhere, ran terrifically. This horse, he was just facing too tough competition, but he ran his heart out. He is a grade 1 winner. He won the Hollywood Turf Cup Hollywood Derby at Del Mar over the mile and 8th last fall. Won by 3/4 length, closing up from nowhere. Very good run. Placed in the Twilight Derby prior to that, and won the Hawthorne Derby on the lawn before that. He ran here last season Dueling Grounds Derby, where he just was never really comfortable from a stupidly wide post draw. He changes that today with a better post draw. At 6-1, I'm going to give him a shot on the ticket. He could definitely win. I think your second likeliest winner is the one-horse portfolio company for Chad Brown and Joel Rosario. Chad Brown doesn't run a lot of horses, I've noticed here at Kentucky Downs. It's not the meet he really, points to. So I want to see how he does. It looks like he has quite a few horses on today's card, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check right now. In the late double, he has two, but if I'm not mistaken, he has quite a few for this weekend also. So let's see how they do. But this horse is coming out of the Lore Stakes. Quite a few of these are coming out of that race, where he finished third by neck. He closed into that slow pace. He just missed late, but he ran his heart out behind Smoking Tea. Prior to that, on the 4th of July at Belmont, a mile 16th, Widener, Option Lady Clamor. He won by 2 1/4 lengths. It was a very spongy turf course, but he stalked. He got the lead, and he took off clear. Very nice run. And then late May at Belmont, going a mile and 8th, he won by a half length. And he stalked a slow pace, and he got the job done. Coming here today, I'll give him a shot. He's definitely run races fast enough to win on this turf course. But to recount my selection for the ninth from Kentucky Downs, it's the Tapit Stakes. Going to take the 4-horse Speaking Scout. Give kudos to the one-horse portfolio company. 4-1-11-7 Super. 4-1 in your multi-race. Let's get to the 10th event now from Kentucky Downs. The nightcap here on day one. It's a main special weight purse, $150,000 race for maidens 2-year-olds here. We have a field of 16 horses, 12 could go, 1,600 meters or a mile on the turf course. I'm going to take the 8-horse Publis as a top selection. I'm going to go 8-6-4-11 in the superfecta. 8-6-4-11 super. Top selection 8-horse Publis. Two are called by Constitution here. Brad Cox trains. Florent Giroux gets them out. Bought this horse for $450,000 last September at Keeneland, but most recently he's a first-time starter. Had a workout last week at Ellis, 5/8 a mile on the main track, and 101 and 3/5 of a second. Third best workout of 8, and a 5-furlong workout, 101 flat. Third best workout of 19. Brad Cox has good numbers with first-time starters, striking at 25%. First-time turf, however, 15%. But his 2-year-olds really have great numbers going to first-time outings, and when they're running a mile, that's when they really show up. Also, coming here at 6-1, I'll give him a shot here on the ticket. The 6-horse Cooper Missile for Kelly Danner and Kelsley Danner and Adam Skitza. Wouldn't surprise me if this horse gets a good trip to win. Nearly won a Colonial going a mile in the main special weight last month, where he finished second by 3/4 length. He was stupidly wide, but he was gaining well late. He's been training quite well at Colonial. Second half offering, I'll give him a shot on the ticket. Even the 4-horse Tapatoro for Brian Lynch and James Graham. He's a first-time starter here. The workout patterns haven't been half bad. He has some turf pedigree. Let's give him a shot here in this very wide open nightcap. This is when the race is in the pick 4 and all the pick 4 sequences on today's program. I think you want to go a lot deeper than you normally have been going throughout the card. So use all 4 of these horses I'm using in the super. Even the 11 horse move to gold. A little bit of wide posture for Chad Brown, but he's training well. And Chad Brown has good numbers with these kind of horses, but like I said, doesn't normally send a lot of horses to Kentucky Downs, so we're going to keep an eye on as the meeting goes on how they're run. But to recap my selection for the nightcap, the 10th race from Kentucky Downs, going to take the 8-horse Publis, 8-6-4-11 super. Use all 4 of them in the multi race. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, everybody.